I accidentally spilled some water on myself and spawned these 3 gremlins. Clearly, I don't listen. Gen Wars. Welcome to Gen Wars, the generational podcast between the Gen Xers and the millennials. I'm your host, Nick, and with me is a trunk full of problematic gremlins who are hungry for some uncovered refrigerator chicken.
Yeah.
It was, oh my god, it was uncovered.
It was. It was.
Can't open the gates like
As
this.
a kid, I kind of just thought that was the way it goes. Yeah, no. With me on the Gen X side of things, we have our good friend Cam, and on the millennial side of things, we have our good friends Katherine and Steven. How's everybody doing? Everyone?
We're doing
Full
great.
of refrigerator chicken?
A whole plate of it. There's so many things I was like, want to live my life like Gremlins at all.
Is that the movie that we're reviewing? Is that what we're watching?
Yes. As a matter of fact,
is that what I was supposed to watch?
If you couldn't tell, we are reviewing 1984's classic Gremlins. This is one of those movies that kind of, at least for me, falls into the Halloween and Christmas mid-zone, like can be watched in both times. So we figured this would be a good transition movie out of spooky season into holiday season. Also, didn't dawn on me that this movie is 40 years old now, which is rough. Oh. Yes. So if you haven't watched this movie in 40 years, or
that's on you.
Or you don't remember it. Here's a quick plot synopsis. A gadget salesman is looking for a special gift for his son and finds one in a store in Chinatown. The shopkeep is reluctant to sell the Mogwai to him, but it sells it to him anyways with the warnings to never expose them to light, water, or feed them after midnight. All of this happens, and the result is a gang of gremlins that decide to tear up the town on Christmas Eve. We're going to stick with our format of the more free-flowing conversation, and we're going to drop our scores at the end based on the criteria below. After reading that plot synopsis, I didn't think that the shopkeeper actually sold him.
Nope, it was a child.
No, AI wrote that review.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that. That wasn't me. That was taken from
someone who hadn't seen the movie.
Okay, yeah, that was some back alley dealings.
He was a child.
Like that kid.
He saw $200, which is like $800
in 1984, probably.
We've done the math already, so it's about 3 times.
But yeah, that was totally a back alley deal, and then had to go back in and be like, "Hey, Grandpa, I may have sold that thing." So yeah, definitely not what that synopsis was. Again, that was all over the internet, so that's everywhere. So that's how that goes.
What is everybody's first viewing experience of this film? I kind of want to know that coming out the gates.
6 years old in the theater with my aunt.
Ooh,
eating milk duds.
Interesting. Good to know.
I was probably.
Was that a core memory?
That was good.
It was good
for me. This was. I watched this one on HBO with my dad when it. So, I don't think I was 5, but it might have been 5 because it dropped February 3rd of 85 on HBO after releasing in 84 during the summer. So this is definitely a core memory for me.
So it was set up to be a holiday home release in the Christmas time. That's an interesting summer blockbuster
It
play.
was supposed to be, and then it was pushed back, right?
It released on the same day as what popular 1984 movie?
Ghostbusters, right?
That's right.
But it was originally set up to release in the holidays, and then they pushed it to summer.
Past from the previous year or up?
I don't remember.
Okay. I think that matters.
But so then
it was pushed one direction. I don't know which way.
Oh, poor One Direction.
And then so it also missed the 84 Christmas and then dropped in February on HBO. So we didn't get it then. So I'm wondering I must have watched it in Halloween time in 85, maybe 86, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I don't officially remember.
It's
but I know
so
I watched
perfectly
it
ambiguous within this like holiday gambit.
Yeah. This falls into the this would fall into the Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie? Is Gremlins a Christmas movie? It falls for both for me.
It's 100% transitional, and I think intentionally so. I think just kind of like jumping in, this lends itself to like a Christmas Story parody. Like just at the beginning, like with the narration, with like the cut to like it's Christmas time. It is tying itself to the holiday season for whatever reason. I have my opinions on that, but it does it really well as far as like tying it in as a Christmas horror like parody, comedic horror.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of comedy in this one, for sure. Which there's those hard tonal shifts where they go from the real spooky horror movie shots walking up the stairs with building that tension to complete goofball off the wall comedy, which is absolutely fantastic. That you can, and then bring it back around to, oh no, this is scary again, and then back to the nonsense of it all. Steven, you know your good friend worked on this movie.
Old Kathy, yeah, my good lady. Oh, Kathy, me and her go way back.
The Midas touch Kennedy.
Oh my God,
Is that the one?
yes. Oh my God, it's just like the fall from grace. Where like the more I go into the histogram and like the pedigree of this fantastic person in Hollywood, the fall from grace and the fall from my personal esteem,
Well, she
lady,
was working for
please.
Amblin Entertainment, right, at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Joe Dante directing, Christopher Columbus writing, Jerry Goldsmith on score, which is, I absolutely love this score. The weird, creepy stuff, I mean, it's fine. It works, but his theme for both the Gremlins, or the Gremlins and the Mogwai theme, I guess it would be, Gizmo's
the
theme.
iconic.
The iconic, exactly. Hits me so hard every time. It took a long time for me to watch this movie. First off, I didn't realize how much, not something I thought I was going to talk about, but this movie resonates so deep with me, with my family, like us watching. I watched this with my dad, who's no longer here. Christmas. The movie starts off with Darlene Love's Baby Please Come Home, which for me, if you want to bring me to happy tears Christmas time, kills me every time. It's one of those songs that, it transports me to a place in time that obviously I can't ever get back to without a time machine.
Sure.
And so took me a while to get through this. I actually texted my girlfriend. I'm like, I'm crying watching Gremlins. What the hell is going on here? I'm like, wow, I haven't clearly.
What is happening to me?
I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to score yet. My nostalgia is 10. That's it. I can't take it out of a 10. It's 10 automatic.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, once everything started going, like all the chaos started happening, obviously that cleared up. But a lot of my childhood is tied up in this movie and other movies that we will also get to. But this movie specifically, it brought back a lot of emotions because clearly I haven't watched it in a very long time. I've watched 2 a lot more recent and a lot more often just because of the complete ridiculousness of that movie, which
there's a second Gremlins?
We're going to subject Steven to that one.
We don't want to spoil that one.
Lo and behold, I haven't seen it.
It's in the Gen Wars.
Yeah, and that I think that one got reignited from the Key and Peele sketch, talking about that. Steven, don't go watch that because it'll ruin the movie. Watch the movie
I do
first,
like
then go.
Key and Peele sketches, so thank you for that.
It's probably my favorite sketch.
It's so good.
Theirs.
I haven't seen that one. I'll have to check it out.
Oh, you've seen Gremlins too, so you can definitely watch it. Steven, you have to wait till we get to that Gen Wars episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're gonna watch it right before we do the episode.
Excellent.
Yes.
Perfect. Tone setter.
We'll live react. Maybe we'll do a live reaction to that part, and then we'll tag that on the front. One little thing. Speaking of time machine that I can't go back to, or I guess a time that I can't go back to. Did anybody notice when when Pelser was at the convention? He's on the phone trying to talk to everybody at home. There's an H.G. Wells time machine in the background in one shot, and then they cut away to him calling home, and then they cut back, and the time machine's gone. There's smoke coming off the ground, and they're like trying to clean it up. I don't think I ever noticed that as a kid.
I didn't.
Nor did I
that.
really know what that was. Yeah,
Steven has no idea what that is.
Midway through the movie.
Did you notice the man in the wheelchair in that scene too?
Yes. Was that supposed to be look like Stephen Hawking?
Well, you got the first part right, Stephen.
You already interrupted, but if you don't have a time machine, you can go to the Funky store where you can experience all the nostalgia at the Funky Dot store.
Oh, gotcha.
The Funky store where there's great nostalgia merch like Blockbusters, things that you would have to have a time machine to go check it out, and Toys R Us and all the great things. There might be shirts that
this isn't
like indiscriminately
merch,
might remind you of that time. Go over to the Funky Dot store.
Funky Dot store.
Well, Nick, are you wearing your Hill Valley shirt for a particular reason?
I am.
Yes.
I just happened to wear it. I mean, I guess it works in the grand scheme of things, but
it does.
Unintentional.
It does because this movie completely rips off Back to the Future.
Well, no, because they reuse sets from Back to the Future.
Do they?
Yeah.
They do the whole Universal backlot.
Yeah, Hill Valley and Kingston Falls have the same sets.
Interesting. Okay.
It is the same. It's like the same pan that Marty does when Doc brought him back the Gremlin for Christmas. Oh wait, it's a different movie, but it's the same set.
It did feel like a set. Something that I wanted to mention: the snow, absolutely glued to the Volkswagen.
That poor bug.
The Volkswagen was completely frozen and wouldn't start, so he had to walk to work. But not a single car had snow on it, and all the streets were clean.
That's a good one.
It was so funny to me.
That's one of many inconsistencies in this movie.
It was so sprayed, and like it feels like a play. Like the whole movie plays out like a stage play, which I do love. Like very I think Little Shop of Horrors comes out after this. Ooh. But I think so. It gets a pass from me because of that. It's like it's hokey and campy enough that it's like, okay, like they're people on a stage, on a set. Like they weren't going into houses, they weren't going into places. These are all like this is the transition from stage plays in the Roman theaters into Hollywood. Like that nice little like everything has to be built, everything has to be manufactured. We're not going on set, we're all doing it in studio. You don't get that all the time, and it's almost nostalgic for me.
Yeah, like it feels, but it feels, it makes me feel like I'm in that world. Like, yes, we can get a great, have a house that we've just rented to shoot in, and you can make that feel, but this feels
moved into
homey.
for
this
the first time after Dad disappeared.
Yeah, like this feels lived in. Everything feels very lived in. So that is part of that nostalgia for me. That it feels warm and this movie feels warm and comforting for me, and again, not for other reasons as well as the set pieces and such.
Cam, where did you see this for the first time? You said in the theater with Nan, or?
Yeah, with my aunt. I think we were in Panorama City, California. I think it's like my only memory I have of this one. So I mean, it was a long time ago, but yeah, I remember seeing it and really enjoying it. Looking back, those are some poor parenting decisions and some poor parental guidance. This movie is grim and dark as ever. I have renamed it to Gremlins. It is not a Gremlin anymore. It is really dark. And apparently they wanted to go harder on this movie. And they were like, nah, dude, we're really trying to get that family appeal. And after watching it, I was like, y'all missed the mark. I don't know. Because there's some really questionable scenes in here. And, you know, it's also back in the day between you had PG and then you jumped straight to R. Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't shortly thereafter that we had PG-13s going in there. But it was pretty violent for kids.
Yeah. I mean... Oh, you're right, Catherine. There's not much snow on. We got some frosted. I have just pulled the movie up, and everyone's car is kind of frosted on the bottom. Like there was some salt on it, but there's no snow to be had on any car.
No snow to be had.
I was doing some research on what happened, and it turns out that the entire budget was spent on one of the first scenes on onions. Like mom was just chopping onions for like weeks. I still didn't see the dish that all of those onions went into.
Isn't that was like, what's wrong, Mom? And she's like, oh, nothing. I'm just cooking. Like, was she just cutting onions?
Just chopping onions.
Wait, is that actually what, like a good chunk of budget? Because Catherine and I were like going into budget expenditures, and I'll let her go into that.
It wasn't. This is essentially what candles is to craft, onions are to gremlins.
And glitters to the Lost Boys, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Onions are to gremlins? What a weird one.
So many layers here to unpeel here.
Like an onion.
All right, Catherine, you want to hit us with some budgetary situations?
Yeah. Stephen and I were discussing this earlier. This film had an $11 million budget, which I kind of dug in, and it's actually a pretty low budget for the 80s. I think the average was about 15 million, so it was on the lower end. Each Gremlin animatronic cost $30,000 to make, and they were so expensive that anytime, like at the end of the day, when the cast and crew left, they checked everyone's trunks to make sure no one stole one.
I mean, that was probably your whole paycheck. Like,
yeah, gone.
Yeah.
Zing. Interesting enough, though, it made 12 mil on opening weekend. It crushed its budget
as
and
it should.
some.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
It was competing with Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters had a $30 million budget.
Yeah, and it slapped them back a little bit because it definitely won the box office there.
Yeah, for inflation, this film was probably closer to the 35 milli, so really around like what we would call current era FNAF. This is a current era FNAF film.
Mm-hmm.
Solid.
Yeah, I would say that's in line for sure, because we were discussing how much we enjoyed that too.
Which you can check out
The
on the channel.
Yes.
The IMDb gross for this was $153 million, so it is far exceeded that micro budget, if you will.
Yeah, 10 times.
Tiny budget.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they did a lot with that budget too.
Yeah, like
yes.
We did several forms of media because you had some stop motion shots, you had the puppet practical, and you had I know it was just one, but like when we talk about Moana, where they had one 2D animated scene with the tattoo art and everybody freaked out, like that's what we had with Gremlins when they're coming through the projector and you had like the silhouettes.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Like you did all three medias, like more or less. There was I would call stop motions like early precursor to CGI, so you got all three medias in one film.
Well, also, they didn't show the Gremlins right away. There was a lot of like little teasers and breadcrumbs and
A proper
showing...
monster movie.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Well, Spielberg had a track record with that, so he knew what Jaws did for him. So let's implement this in here and keep them guessing, keep them questioning what these things are until we actually show them.
Yeah,
Haven't
what
seen
do they
Jaws.
look like
Yeah.
before? You
What did you say?
seriously?
No, haven't seen Jaws. Yeah, that's been
Yeah, we had
known.
talked about doing that.
Yeah, that's been known. I haven't seen Jaws.
We're gonna need a bigger internet.
I'm gonna need one of those beers, Steven.
We'll subject Steven to some Jaws.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love the monster movie genre, so make sure you like, subscribe, and do all the things so you can catch that episode of Gen Wars.
Exactly.
Can we talk about how this guy is the absolute most worst salesman ever?
Yes.
Like,
Peltzer?
Yes.
I realized that there was like the bank guy made a jab. Judge Reinhold was riffing on Zach in there about how he's basically like having to support his whole family, and for a good reason, because I mean, mom's been. Some say she's still chopping onions, but outside of that, I mean, dad's going to the far exotic places of Chinatown to sell the bathroom buddy, who he begins to just absolute like spray himself with this thing, no shame, doesn't miss a beat, keeps on going, trying to sell the bathroom buddy in.
But is that a good salesman? Like nothing, you're not going to get phased by you're going to keep your pitch has got to keep going.
He's an
I guess
inventor.
He's a way better salesman than he is an inventor. How about that? But
there
then
you go.
then again,
There you
not really, because he's not making money. No one's buying 10 of the bathroom buddies. He couldn't even sell an ashtray at some point.
Smokeless.
I was very concerned about the
Smokeless
family well-being with this man in the house. I think everyone lives a lot like more stress-free when dad's out at inventor conventions and not home.
They still
we
try
can
to
all
use
just
his
focus.
inventions even when he's not home.
The always on juicer? What even in the hell is that? Who needs an always on juicer?
And they use it like I think that is the most fantastic part of this like world building. Like they spent so much time
They did.
developing a character that has probably up to 15 minutes of screen time in an hour and 15-minute film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole backstory is so important for the theme of acceptance. So when you're talking about like, these critters turned into really gross cocoons, guess we won't worry about that and we move on.
Unbothered, yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, wow, Dad made this thing that probably was gonna like lop my hand off. Guess we'll keep trying to use it. Like it's such a good foundational like world building mechanic to the rest of the story that puts you in this space where like, okay, yeah, like the chicken thing. He's like, oh, your dad's stuff, they work so great for the first little bit. Like, okay, she's a dedicated wife. Like, she's trying her best. Like, everybody's super supportive.
Yeah.
And like, oh, he brought this weird critter from wherever he was off to doing that. Guess we'll just take care of it. Like,
yeah.
It's an incredibly fantastical setup for such a like grounded film.
As a kid, I thought the bathroom buddy was going to be a thing that we all used. I was like, wow, this thing, this is an invention. Yeah.
It kind of is.
So innovative.
Now looking
The Swiss
looking
Army
at it,
knife
I'm
is a
like,
thing.
yeah, but it's a giant brick.
Like, do you hold it to shave or brush your
Yeah,
teeth?
yeah,
If
exactly.
it ejected a little, like it's a prototype. Like you're getting
Like,
into
how do
the
you
ground
change out the
floor,
toothbrush on
like of
it?
this product. Yeah.
I don't want that
buy
guy in
another
any of my
one.
meetings.
Hey, you know what? There'd be a YouTube channel that would promote that product and would do a great job of doing it. So
Sure. It,
However, his
was it?
voiceover is great.
Yeah.
What's his name? Holt Axton is the actor's name. Man, he's got a voice on him.
It
Yeah.
gave me
The
the Christmas
last-
story, man. Like it was.
Yeah,
but
I can see that. Yeah.
As the shopkeep is walking away with Gizmo, and he's talking about, you know, the look under your bed if the lights are on the fritz. That scared the shit out of me as a little kid. Like, I remember watching this movie and then we shut it off and they're like, time for bed. And I'm like,
No.
oh no.
What?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Should I look under my bed? Is there a gremlin there? Like, it legitimately freaked me out. And again, I probably shouldn't have been watching this at the age I watched it at. But
I
done.
almost goofed because like I was like, oh, it's only PG. Like maybe this is one like and it's like, nope. Glad I didn't do that because this is basically a body horror film at the end. Like that's
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that, and I was like, good call.
oh man,
It went hard in the paint on that one.
yeah, we would have had to have some
trauma.
debriefing with the children. Maybe some therapy.
Yeah,
Should
I
have
would
given
need
you a
therapy.
warning, but you figured it out.
Yeah.
I do a good
job.
amount of pre-screening, but whoo, yeah, you know, that's again why they have PG-13, which is like PG can go like I would say 4, 6 on the low end, on like the lowest end of PG. So if you're giving that no investigation and you're just like, it's PG, like I'm guiding my children through this film, it'll be
I
fine.
mean, that's what happened.
I
That's
think
what happened
you're
in the
missing
80s.
the
It was
whole
like,
G rating.
Guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Guidance.
I used it there.
That would be
yeah,
your 4 to
we
6
didn't- we didn't go that far.
But like, Gremlins, Jaws, and Poltergeist were like those movies were set.
Poltergeist is
PG-13.
PG as well.
Yes.
that's a pretty scary one. I do remember
Yeah.
watching that, but I was a
It
little
was
bit
because
older.
of Second Indiana Jones. Is,
Yeah, that
I
too.
think when
Yeah,
they,
Temple
they
of
went
Doom
to
too,
PG-13.
So there was a couple places here when I have the scene up right now where he's so the two different people made, so one, Chris Wallace made the original puppets for these movies, and then Rick Baker took over for the second movie. And I don't know Chris Wallace's backstory of what other movies he's done. But there were a couple places, like when he's playing, they're playing with a keyboard and he's singing the tones with him.
Yep.
You could tell that it took him a full year to make these puppets, to get these done.
Just one.
I don't know if it's just one or all of them, but
Yeah,
No,
the
I
whole
mean just
lot.
Assuming
one
all
year.
of them.
Like these
Oh,
are
1 year,
very
yeah, yeah.
impressive puppets.
Yeah.
yes. So for the so there was kind of a medium shot. You could tell the puppet was a little wonky, and I think if I remember correctly, we just watched this on movie night, our Friday night movie night recently, but they kind of made Gizmo a little cuter, a little more softer, and they kind of you don't see as many of the separations and places and stuff. But in all the
They had
close-ups
better
here,
animatronics.
better
sure.
animatronics overall, yeah. But still, I mean, for 84, either you're watching this in the theater or you're watching this on a CRT at your house. I mean, I'm watching
There
this
would no
now
problem.
on
Right.
a 4K monitor, so I can see those little nuanced things, but it's still a fantastic animatronic. It
So-
still holds up beautifully.
Like borderline fact check question. This is not a puppet house that did this. This was two individuals that did all the puppetry for all this. This isn't like people that left Jim Henson's company to do this or anything.
I did not research that.
That's
Rick
fine.
Baker is his own. He has his own house.
So
Yeah,
small,
his own-
small. Because we're coming
Well,
off
no,
Dark Crystal
that's
like
the
2
guy-
years earlier.
Hold on. Fact check.
He's old.
I
old.
checked. Like Dark Crystal is a couple years earlier, which what I would say
82.
is setting the standard. Okay, 3 years, setting the standard for puppetry. I think this hits the mark for like two let's say a crew of 10 people doing puppetry versus the Jim Henson company, the company to do puppetry.
yeah.
So I think they did a bang up job.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. For
small
sure.
budget. They probably
I
Small.
don't.
treat your shop.
Yeah, I actually don't know how much puppetry was in this versus straight animatronics.
I don't know either.
Like, I believe it's fully animatronic in there. That those scenes are set up to support the animatronic puppets in there. You can see because they get weird when they try to pick him up and stuff and transition. Like the screen cuts down so you don't see what he's actually picking up and going with. But yeah, like they're all kind of like those scenes are set up for the animatronics. And I think the most shocking way that I kind of like really honed in on this was when he is laying on his bed with Gizmo and he's having a sandwich, which doesn't seem weird, except it's an open Coke can on the bed. Like, what?
Sometimes you just trust yourself.
Anywhere?
You just gotta trust. I do that on the couch occasionally. You just set it on the cushion.
A lot of trust.
On the other couch cushion, like you're not gonna shift. It'll be fine.
Unless that's one of Dad's inventions on beds that aren't soft. That thing had so much rigidness in it. So it's like, I think those scenes were set up to support the animatronics of those puppets rather than.
But there's still got to be puppetry in there. Like there's I don't think the thing was fully.
The vial
Fully
form,
animatronics.
like the true Gremlins, the green guys, a lot of those, because I could tell when they're like doing the laughs and they do like the raised head and the like the shake, like those were more puppeteering. But so I guess I'll use like puppeteer work from the catch-all of like you have to create the skin that goes over the animatronic or the hand at that point. Sure. The craft, the artisanal craft in these creatures, the creature house, very impressive when trying to compare it during the time, because we're still ahead of Jurassic Park as far as animatronics go. They just came off Jaws, which had some hinky animatronics. So a lot of good work for what I'm shocked to hear is a smaller house.
Yeah, and apparently everyone saw Alien when they watched this movie too.
Yeah, I mean we're coming off everything emulates Alien. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean they ripped off Back to the Future. They ripped off Wizard of Oz in the opening scene with that woman. They went straight for.
But it's intentionally parodied. That is different. When it's actually funny.
I don't know. They were setting out to make a horror thriller in here, and it just so happened to be in Christmas time.
No, they're making a comedy.
No one can hear you scream
no parody comedy
in Kingston or whatever wherever they are.
There's more comedy.
I don't know.
So there's also a documentary called Gremlins: A Puppet Story.
Okay.
Goes over this. So this is something I'm going to end up watching after.
I want to watch that. Yeah.
Also, I'd kind of like to point out just how everyone is so unimpressed with a gremlin.
It's so funny. It makes me laugh so hard.
Oh, cool. I've never seen that before. All right. Okay, you just put water on it and it multiplies.
You guys have your boy.
Right,
We're like totally unbothered.
Dog.
you got Feldman here. Like Corey, he is at his best, being
at his
disinterested.
Best? I have to say,
let me go play with my 3D glasses.
That scene was sus as hell.
That was funny. It was so funny. That's comedy, baby. That's hilarious.
Billy, like, you don't need to be in Billy's room while Billy's changing, all hanging out on his bed and everything, looking through his sheets and then being like, oh yeah, what's this? Also, shoes off the bed. He just had shoes right on the pillow side.
He's a deviant.
Yeah. But there's, and I mean, like, Gizmo really liked him up until the point where he made him drown and, kick out babies. So they had a really good working relationship.
I also want to point out, like, why would teenagers have massive rooms in movies? It's just ridiculous.
Now
he was in the attic.
It was in the attic.
Yeah,
That's a pseudo finish act.
still.
Yeah. That was a hodgepodge. That was I'll speak to it like that's like we're kind of
Steven,
doing our
didn't you
best.
live in the attic?
Yes, I did. I live in an attic.
That wasn't a dig.
Yeah, no. I can empathize, but it's just like space that's been finished. You can kind of tell like the weird like hook that he made to put the TV up there, and like the weird like the railing is a different dating than the walls, and it's just like we'll kind of make this space work for you, kid. We're trying our best here. Like I can't even get the sword to stick to the wall, but you know.
Which is also weird. They don't have any other kids. It's a one-bedroom house.
He's kind of
one-bedroom house.
He's kind of not there.
In the attic.
I'm not convinced those are real people at all. That guy doesn't have a job. There's no way those people are married.
He's an inventor.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
And she's a psychopath, which we found out, if we can go into that.
Yeah, let's
The
go
first
into
noise that woman hears in the house, she goes right for the knife. She's
just
like, let's go investigate.
She doesn't know what these creatures does. The last time she saw these creatures, they're cute and cuddly. She sees those green legs sticking out. Blender. Just absolutely obliterates the thing. In the bowl.
Yeah,
no hesitation. Yeah.
She first has questions later.
She had her 3 kill. Like I wish. Yeah, she was the first 3 kills.
Second, because Professor dies. Professor dies first. So the gremlin has the first kill.
No, but they don't kill it. Gremlin kills.
Okay, yeah, gremlin kills.
kills.
The first kill is the professor getting syringed in the arse.
And that that was supposed to be gorier than what it was. He was supposed to be covered in syringes, and they had to dial it back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That would have been full R for that. If you watch after she microwaves the third one, and then goes back to the knife block.
Yeah.
Well, so she pulls one knife out of the knife block, and then she pulls a second one. If you look behind her, the one that she stabbed to death is like wriggling around with a knife in his chest. And you're like, oh, he's still not dead. Jesus.
Oh.
Double tap. Got to do what Zombieland taught me.
So I need
That's right.
to access our audience here if I'm from a different timeline. So I had not seen this movie all the way through prior, but I have a distinct memory of the gremlin killing spree, and one of them gets put in the juicer, and it is just a scene of them going into the juicer, it getting cut on, and then cutting to the glass of green filling up. I'm guessing I just completely made that up, or I have no idea. Is this Mandela?
I think it's you mashed up the whatever that processor bowl was that she had, and you mashed up that with the earlier scene of the orange juice splurting everywhere.
Because I thought we had like the shotgun mentality with like the swords. The sword fall twice, and then he used it to cut off the head, and also he used the juicer to juice somebody. And I guess like because that's all I had seen prior, like was clips of like the gremlin killing. And then I watched the film today, so whatever distance that was. But for some reason, I have this distinct memory of the juicer being part of this spree.
One thing I didn't notice in talking about the liquids is I think they used effects for the coffee. The when the coffee the black coffee was coming out, like the sludge,
sludgy,
I think that was all fake. I think they worked right through that, and I never thought about it before, but when I was looking at it, I was like, this doesn't look right. Like it was something. Well, I mean, they didn't have any CGI in this movie, but they used camera, practical effects, and somehow to put that in. Like go back and look at the coffee maker thing. The way that stuff is coming out and just their interaction with it, it makes it look like it's not there, and they're just acting like they're drinking sludge coffee.
Interesting. Hold on, I'm trying to find it real quick.
There's a lot of thick liquids in this film. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to the coffee scene.
The pupil stage, or instead of pupa, that really pissed me off, actually. Like, it's a pupil stage. Pupa. It's pupa, correct? Am I wrong? Is it pupa stage?
Putrid?
And those things were gross. The snotty,
And they were unbothered. They were just like, it's fine.
I mean, but that was funny. Like, again, I will die on that hill that is intentionally like almost slapstick, like it's fine, and then just moves on. Cut to next scene. Leave mom in the house with those things. It's fine.
Hey, mom protected herself. She did good.
Yeah,
mom was hardcore.
Yeah, she's killed people before. That was not her first time.
She's in witness protection. Is that what this is? John Wick
Yes.
style?
You hear something, grab
Definitely.
like that is what every trope is of, like, I'm a trained killer. I hear something, prepare myself. Okay, something's amiss, just obliterate. Like,
Yeah,
shouldn't
she got a
even do, like,
boneyard
a-
in the backyard.
I know there's something that's sus.
She didn't go, hello?
Hello, yeah, nothing. Like,
Anybody home?
oh no, like.
Just knife.
The
Let's
Shining,
go.
no, just like knife down. Like, she bodied, like, she has one of the top tier body counts of the Gremlin killings. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. She
and I
killed
can't count the
3
theater.
and then-
Yeah,
Yeah, she killed 3 and then
she went in
then he
one
came
v
home
four
with
with
a
a 3 KDA. Like,
The apple doesn't fall far from that tree.
right.
Where is this scene? Why can I not
The
find the
coffee scene? Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
It's
too.
early. It's early in the film.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
like,
no,
like
I'm-
first half hour, I'm guessing.
That's where I'm at, roughly.
You talk about the odd timing of the Inventors Convention on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that
what a weird... I don't know. I can't... I don't
There's-
go to conventions very often, so...
There's so many like weird things going on.
Isn't that a whole
there's no-
thing about we got to be back by Christmas? Like, we're stuck in Christmas Eve. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, babe. I'm coming home for like.
Baby,
There's
please
so many
come
inventions.
home.
I mean, it starts off the whole movie.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Yeah,
I think it just is still falling into like ultimate parody. Like we're going into like we're gonna push the limit of suspension of disbelief. Like he's gonna be out because he drove as well with the dog, which he did. Like he went to the business. Like for some reason he took the dog, which wasn't seen at the convention. So I guess it just sat wherever he was. Maybe he didn't have a hotel because he wasn't
the
using
car.
a hotel. Yeah.
Windows up.
Did the
Leave the dog in the
convention
car,
and
no
then went to
problem.
the gas station to sell stuff, but bought like a ton of things. He's always buying more than he's selling, which I also think is funny. Because he had like a ton of stuff from the gas. I thought he had like the full like actual like big carton of cigs, even though he was never
did.
shown. Yeah, he was never shown smoking
he did.
before, so he sold more to sell his one product to get it. He bought more than he sold to get the like. It's such a bad salesman trope. It is very funny to me. So, like, the fact that he's just so out of sorts that he's out on a convention on Christmas Eve, it didn't even give me pause.
Okay.
Movie had me in disbelief in so many turns.
But it was
I
supposed
just
to.
had it.
It set the stage there. Like, when that woman got bit by the dog, like, right out the
Yeah.
gates and didn't immediately, like, press to get the dog killed. Like, even though she threatened it earlier. Like,
Yeah.
That would never happen.
The biggest suspension of disbelief is, what bank is this? You got your dog behind the desk there. You're rolling in. You're getting uncomfortably close to your coworkers. We really need to talk about, you guys need some space there.
it was the 80s. It's okay. It's encouraged.
Just a little bit
That-
of customer service in there. But yeah, the dog jumping over and going after that woman. I mean, that would have
He
been...
was trying
game
to
over, right?
hide the dog. He was not supposed to have the dog. Just
Cam, that coffee machine is practical. That is a practical coffee machine. All the
What's-
stuff coming out of it is practical.
It is real.
Yeah.
When did it happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what's the timestamp?
It
It looked weird when I
30
was
minutes.
when I was watching it.
30 minutes?
30 minutes roughly. Yep. Hold on, I can back it up. Yep, 31 15, 31:10. You can
Okay.
see it even splatters into the cup. Like, so there's the machine is actually,
It is.
it's
Whatever-
trying its
whatever-
best.
Black sludge.
my guess is they
Okay,
probably
that's-
put like molasses in it or something. Because you can see it like splash when it shoots out the last time. You can see it hit the sides of the cup.
Okay.
It's thick with
Yeah.
like 4 C's.
That fly swatter thing he had was dangerous.
When I was
Yeah,
a
it
kid
was.
and my parents were always
Holy
like, "Oh,
crap.
coffee, it's so strong," or holiday time. I always would go back to this, and I'm like, I don't want to drink coffee. Coffee is the grossest thing ever.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
sludge.
want to. I don't want to
Well,
drink it with
there
a
was always
spoon.
the joke. always the joke
You
of
gotta
like
chew
don't make
on
it
it.
like sludge. Yeah. Gross.
You could stand a spoon up in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks.
Ugh.
You don't know what you're missing out. There's so many flavors.
The Christmas Story. Poor Phoebe Cates.
Yeah.
I was gonna get to that. Yeah, man.
The slow
I was
zoom in on
rolling.
her face.
That was that was so. That is horror comedy.
Dark humor.
That is the funniest delivery, timing, situation, everything. It is so funny. That is peak. That's the peak, like, out of left field, like, I'm going to give you my tragic backstory.
Yeah,
Love
it
it.
was about 4 or 5
Love
days.
it. Love
The
it.
four, they killed me.
Cuts to Gizmo.
He instantly
Gizmo's face
snapped
when
his
he
neck.
finally
Yeah.
like gets to the punchline, but it gets to the finale of the story, and it cuts to
punchline.
Gizmo like,
Oh,
his little face.
Wait.
You're like, oh
I thought this
no.
was a Christmas movie.
I can't remember the scene, but when they're falling asleep watching TV and like Gizmo has like a full stroke and it's just like that was
Poor little guy.
Well, the Santa scene was originally Spielberg wanted to cut it from the film, but Joe Dante wanted to keep it in. He fought tooth and
The
nail
story?
to keep that in. Yeah, the story that Phoebe Cates delivered. He didn't.
Well, they
Yeah,
already
no,
set it
that's-
up that not everyone likes Christmas. Oh
Yeah.
God!
it was great. It was fantastic. That was I think that is like the most comedic that's not like physical comedy of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of good foreshadowing. We set that up well in the beginning of the movie
So
for that
long
payoff
ago.
at the end.
Yeah, because I had my
Yeah.
notes and they're like, "Is this supposed to be funny?" Because it is
Yes,
funny.
it's so funny.
Well, I wrote that I didn't remember when that, because they were walking home and she said not everyone likes Christmas, and I was like, oh my god. I wrote down, oh my god, here comes the story, and then it didn't come, and I'm like, wait, it doesn't happen here. It happens well later in the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we're setting this up. No different than Futterman getting in his truck right now. Then he's like, oh, the Gremlins, and there's always Gremlins here, and then they tell him to walk home.
They're
Setting
so
up The
good.
inevitable downfall here.
And that's where it feels like a stage play. Like that's where it is like kind of that theatrics, like, hey, we're gonna say this thing here, but don't worry about it. We'll talk about it
Yeah,
later.
they're just like breadcrumbing you. Yeah.
And then like, I never told you about my father when he and why I hate Christmas.
died.
Like it's so funny to me.
I cry every time I think about firewood.
My God. Like yeah, and that it's a delivery thing because you can make that horrible. You can make it like a bad execution, and it wasn't. It was
for sure.
really.
Well,
so
also it was
funny.
that Spielberg zoom in.
Oh,
Her
yeah.
face that made
Which
it
they got
even
two.
funnier.
I think they did two, 3.
Which was the
throughout
other one?
They did
Do you
another
remember?
one. I think it was on the mom. I think it was on the mom when they did like the really like super zoom, like that you could feel. I could feel the machine like brr brr and go in on the face. I distinctly I like tried to keep a mental note of 2, and I just locked it in on 2. So 2 of them happened in the film. Someone call me out.
I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it.
If there was one, there was one. But if there's one, there might be 2.
Yeah.
There's probably 2. I'll jump on
At
that
least 2.
bandwagon.
I'd like to replace the shocked Pikachu face with the shocked Gizmo face.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I'd like that to be
I
the
could
new
go
meme.
for that.
We can make that happen.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna
mean,
we're gonna
same
get on.
flaw.
I'm gonna talk to the producers of memes and see if they'll.
The meme lords
Accept it.
assembled the council. We must refresh the archives.
Or go back
this
to the
is
way
a-
way back.
We must
machine.
retcon the memes. The Pikachu meme.
This is
Foreshadow.
a weird thing, but
We'll Mandela affect it. We'll just change it all out. Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
It's always been Gizmo.
Something
been.
that I've
Since 84.
always wanted to do, but never. I don't know anybody who has one of these, but the chair, Mrs. Deagle's chair in her house,
Yeah.
the-
Oh God, that was so
whatever those
funny.
called, easy lifts or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
It was like the one and only time I ever saw that.
It was in another movie I watched as a child, but it wasn't as comedically horrific as this one. But something I've always wanted. I was like, I always want to ride in one of those chairs. And it's one of those stupid.
They are
things.
very slow. I again, it's like speaking to the comedy of this film. Chairlifts be slow. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to wrench it. And then them fast forwarding the film, I'm sure they had to like sit and like film it going at appropriate legal speeds and then flying out the window.
Literally, like, I was cackling at that scene. It was so funny.
Because they did do a good job setting up how horrid of a person she is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She really loves cats, though. She's really sweet to those cats. Did you notice their names?
No.
They were all currencies.
Yes, money. Dollar bill. Dollar bill.
Yeah.
Dollar bill. He's the greatest
Dollar bill,
cat.
but each one was a foreign currency.
funny.
So, yeah, she was really sweet with the cats, but man, when
was a
she
lonely cat
heard
lady.
carolers, she like flipped the
carolers were-
switch. It's real. She went shack eyes on him, like.
Speaking of defunct currency, you can get the De Niro shirt and the De Niro sweater over at the Funky Store. I'm going to do 2 plugs because that's way too relevant to bypass. So you can check out.
Wait,
the
did
De
you say
Niro-
Funky Store or the Funky Dot Store?
Funky Dot Store? The Funky Store.
There we
where
go.
You can get
Plug it.
Oh.
plug it.
All right. Do we want to get into scoring? We got some more stuff to talk about.
Two more things I'd like to tackle real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
One, Steven Spielberg really knows product placement in his movies. I mean, he single-handedly brought Reese's into my body and my fatness. They got all the Milk
Milk
Duds in this one.
Duds.
God, I love Reese's.
I love Milk Duds. I have since I watched this movie. So yeah, he's good at plugging them right in there. And just how casual Homeboy is about arson. When he torches the movie theater.
Like I know how to explode the entire theater. Hold on, just hold the line.
He just did it.
Don't breathe
Where's
it
the
in.
boiler room?
Yeah.
It was at that moment that I knew I loved this man.
I knew I was an inventor from the first time I blew up a theater. Like following in my
Again,
father's footsteps.
Gremlins.
Mediocre inventor.
Hey, hold on. My father was a visionary.
So by all means, go right into the score.
Arson. I do
Arson, I got 9.
Check.
He gave it a 9. Yeah.
going into the he said 2 points, so I'll take the other one, I guess. The body horror of Stripe at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
out of left field. Very beautiful in the effect of practical effects. Very
Well done.
oh my
Yeah.
god. That whole like last like peak, like we're gonna defeat the villain. Oh, so good. I really liked like they gave it so many levels of practical like animation in the melting. They had what, like maybe 4 or 5 like models that they had to have because they had like True
Stages
Stripe
of him.
yeah, 2 Stripe, like damaged, like kind of melty, super melty, skeletal puddle, like
You can use like pulsating.
yeah, that a lot of work went into that final death for your like true arc villain.
Yes.
Big shout out from me.
Yeah, we had it
was great.
We had some good Raiders of the Lost Ark coming off that into the. Let's add that into.
Like true shock
Melt a
factor, because
gremlin. Yeah.
like if you're talking about like escalation of like visual like horror or spooky or scary, like it was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, like some of those scenes are like, wouldn't let my kids watch that, and then it's like, oh my god, this is dear lord. That critter's bones are showing. That's wild.
Yeah,
I mean, the first time that I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark and Homie lost his face, I mean, that was pretty impactful on the youth. And then like they carried it right over here, and it was like equally as shocking when you see for the.
It's the same play. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
done
love it.
better here. I have actually seen the Melty, which is a little bit stop motion-y. This is
Yeah.
way different caliber for me.
Yeah.
Got a few more years
is
and a little bit
interesting.
more practice.
Yeah.
Yep.
It shows, and
Yeah,
it shows.
for sure.
Like
Oh, yeah.
not to like gripe at like what Raiders did, but this is just like building upon.
But yeah,
Yes.
like that's exactly the stepping stone that got you into the Jurassic Park land is like you kept upping those antes and like you started breaking down the Spielberg portfolio of where you started and how you go through. They are very different movies. They have some similar qualities where they really do try to bring in that human factor and that comedic impact in some very serious and thrilling or traumatizing events. And they kind of carries over here as well. So yeah, by the time we get to the lawyer getting snatched up by a T-Rex, you're just like, that's all.
I also wrote in my notes that this is where Spielberg went, okay, Corey, let's go. We're going to the Goonies next. And then I don't know where we lost our way somewhere after the Goonies, but
I've seen the Goonies one time,
Lost Boys or something.
just for full like. I have indeed seen the Goonies.
Thank
Good
God.
film. Super 8, something for future maybe.
Super 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
New Goonies.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Super
But
8
yeah.
I don't know
is
what
a
that
good
is,
one.
so
I-
it might be something
it-
fresh for me.
Pin in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a few years back, J.J. Abrams, right? That one?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I did see that one. Yeah, that's right. It looks like they
Mr.
watched
Lensflare
Goonies and
himself?
just tried to remake it after watching Stranger Things, right? It was
No, before
that's what-
Stranger-
No,
that's
this
what-
was pre-Stranger
happened?
Things.
Goonies,
it was a Stranger
Goonies
Things
was
fever
crawling.
dream?
Goonies was crawling.
I did-
Super
I
8
did see
kind of
it.
like tried to stand up, didn't quite make it, and then Stranger Things started walking.
So should
Well,
we get our
Stranger Things
argument ready
ran.
now that Goonies did it better?
Yeah, Goonies did it better. I would totally watch it for that aspect of it because I feel like I actually
I would
said
love
that
to,
when
like,
I watched it
compare.
the first time.
Yeah.
You would love to compare. All right,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll go
But-
watch Stranger Goonies.
Stranger Goonies.
But I think
Yeah.
Corey felt where I didn't like Corey in Lost Boys, where it was such a ridiculous put on. This he felt like the neighborhood kid. Like he
Yeah.
just felt like the kid that comes over, takes your trash out, mows your lawn, whatever, shovels the driveway.
Sells your dad's Christmas
He kind of
trees.
typecasts his way into the Burbs that way too, with Tom Hanks.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was in the
He was-
Burbs.
I
was a
love the
neighborhood
Burbs.
kid.
I've seen the Burbs. Love the Burbs.
Okay, I love the Burbs.
I forgot he was in the Burbs. It's a great one.
Isn't this his day 2, 3 outing in film?
Corey.
Yeah.
Um,
You can get his,
Well, he was in Friday
his
the
autograph for
13th.
a slim 160.
Yeah, I think he started on Friday the 13th. I think he was in that. Was his first film
Fact check that.
fact
as
checking.
Jason Voorhees.
Checking.
Fact checking.
And then
Checking.
scores, because we have a hard stop.
Born Again is a movie. He's a boy fisherman. Like time after time.
Oh yeah, he
in
was
Time
in
After
Stand
Time.
by Me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
pretty established. Okay. Or at least, like,
He feels older in those movies. What was before 84? Like movie wise, nothing.
It was Friday the 13th. Yeah, he was in Friday the 13th Final Chapter the same year as Gremlins.
Okay. Yeah, because he
on
looks like little boy Ori at that point.
That's a
Like, he
child.
was-
Yeah, he's a little wee child.
yeah.
A child.
Yeah, a lot of TV stuff, a lot of one-off appearances. He was on the Love Boat for 2 episodes.
Everyone was in the Love Boat. 2 episodes in the Love Boat? No, that's impressive. Everyone stopped by the Love Boat, but a repeat visit.
just like, I would love to hear your scores for this episode of Gen Wars. Going into
Do it.
scores.
All right, Katherine, go first.
So, nostalgia and bias. I didn't grow up watching this film. Honestly, I don't even remember watching this film for the first time. Maybe at like a sleepover with some friends. I don't remember. But I do enjoy this film, so I'm pretty biased in the sense of that I love 80s films. I love practical effects. I love comedy horror. So I'm going to score this pretty high with a 7. I think I just enjoyed it overall. Just that comedy horror is my favorite. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And then production value, scoring this one really high, especially since they had such a small budget and they did so much with it. There was just with the cost of creating the Gremlins, the practical effects, and the really creative kills. There's so many different kills throughout the film and the creativity of that. And even Steven mentioned all the different effects, such as like the stop motion and even the animation. Like they were really creative with that. And just the different POV shots to like probably cut on budget, but also they're teasing. They don't show you a gremlin until what, halfway into the film or more?
Yeah, we're like almost probably 40 minutes in before we see something.
And before you see one. And
yeah.
And they were actually there for a good 5-10 minutes into the film until you see it.
Yeah.
Like after like the gremlins hatched. I mean, so I'm giving it a 9 in that sense. And then Spirit, this film felt like a labor of love, honestly. Like I know Joe Dante like fought tooth and nail to get a lot of things into this film that Spielberg didn't want, such as the Santa scene, which was hilarious. And all the different gags with the gremlins. Just I had the movie theater scene playing while we were talking, and it's just freaking hilarious just seeing all the different things, like the Flashdance gremlin when they were in the bar.
Yes.
Maniac.
Breakdancing.
Yeah, or the puppets, the gremlin with the little puppets, or he's sitting at the table in the bar.
I love
Puppets
that
on
one.
puppets.
That one. Yeah.
Puppetception. It's happening.
So I gave that also a 9. I scored that really high. This was dark humor. It was so creative, and like we mentioned, Spielberg had a huge hand in this. There was a lot of Spielbergian effects in this film, or camera tricks, to where Steven didn't originally believe me when I said that he didn't direct this film. And he was like, "What? No."
Huh?
Right?
You did
It's
not.
just like Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton didn't direct it. Rewatch. I gave that an 8. Like, that's a great movie. I think it's totally rewatchable. There's so many different things that happen in the background with all the different gremlins. There's just no way that you can catch them all. So like upon rewatching, you catch something new each time. Even with the smokeless ashtray, I didn't catch it that it was smoking in the background when they were at the mobile station and the guy is like gagging on the smoke.
From electronic failure, not from what it meant to do, but because he's such a shite engineer at this point.
Worse.
So I think it's totally rewatchable, and there's always something new that you're gonna catch in this movie. So I gave that an 8, and then overall, again, an 8, just for all of those reasons.
Okay.
So,
What was
leaving that final score was a 40, so an 80%. Is that right?
That is.
Plus 8, plus 8.
He's
Sounds
mathing.
like a skill issue.
He's mathing.
Very much a skill issue. 82.
You know, girls are traditional.
But there's also
learners.
some
Always
continuity issues that the reason why I knocked some of the points off here and there. Just with like, there are certain points where the gremlins did get wet and they didn't multiply. Where they like
Touching
threw a
snow.
beer in his face. Touching
Beer.
snow. They threw a beer in his face. Right now, Stripe is climbing the fountain, which he's already touching the water.
Right, until he
But
sticks his fingy in there.
And still he sticks his hand in.
So wait, Catherine, you got an 82%, right? Is that what we had?
80.
We got it to?
Was it
She
82?
called it 80.
80?
How do we get 80? Is my calculator not calculating?
I might have
7
calculated
plus
it
Ask her.
wrong.
Ask
Plus
her.
9. plus
9.
8 plus 8.
I could have
41.
calculated it wrong. 8. Okay, then bumped it up a little bit.
82.
Okay,
That's my
82.
Okay, cool.
Alright.
Okay, just making sure. I was like, wait a minute. I'm just confirming that we got numbers right here.
I think I tweaked some of my numbers and then forgot to fix my final score.
I've done that. Yeah. You're like, oh, damn it.
No, darn it.
All right, Cam, let's hear what you got for this bad boy.
Okay. Yeah.
Is he a low-key hater? Hold on.
No.
That's why we're going back. That's why I'm going over to Cam
Let's
first.
lean in and listen.
Oh god, this movie is trash. I will.
If you did nothing to defend that snake this entire time, what a fucking sleeper.
I know I was gonna sneak it in there.
Oh my god.
Nostalgia. I mean, I saw this movie as a kid. And I've said this time and time before. I should have a higher nostalgia rating, but I am well over nostalgia at this point. I have been chasing the White Dragon for 40 years, and all I find is that it is a disappointment, and for good reason. Because like your mindset and your appreciation of this movie and different timelines, it just doesn't add up. So nostalgia for me, I'm going on the heavier side of it, into a 7. I think that's a pretty good score for it. It does bring me back. There are a lot of things about this movie that does, transport me back in time. As far as production value, we talked about a lot of the great effects, the scenes, the shots, the sets, the fact that they were able to still film Back to the Future while they were doing this. They used a lot of cool animatronics and puppetry in it. I'm leveling in on an 8 here. I think they did a really good job with what they had at the time. Not to mention, those $40,000 Gremlins out there. There are a lot of them to do, and checking people's trunks is hilarious. So yeah, they put all their money into animatronics and onions, and it totally paid off. Spirit and intent on this movie, I still don't know what the spirit and intent of this movie is. It is bananas. I don't know. None of these people or things are believable in any which way, shape, or form. And that's probably the boat that I missed getting on to this. You guys talk about how funny and that this movie is, and that it's like intentionally campy in these spots, like right down to the Christmas Story scene, where I'm like, why is she devoid of any kind of emotion here? This is strange. So I mean, like
it's called pushing it down.
Yeah, like, and
we didn't go to therapy in the 80s.
No, we tamped it down. Yeah.
I tried to explain this to people that it's like being on Gen Wars and being in this review pushes me into a different sense of like how I look at the movie. Like, I'm not just someone in the audience watching it. Like, I'm trying to take notes and pay attention to things more so. And then as a result of that, I start getting too critical of like the movie as like a whole in these parts. So I mean, Spirit and Intent for me is like a 4. I still don't get it. Rewatchability on this is like a 6. I haven't seen it in 40 years. I will probably be off this planet before I watch it again. I don't know that I'll go back to watch Gremlins. I may go back for a Gremlins 2. But yeah, like rewatch on the 6 for me. And the overall is a 6 as well. I really liked this movie as a child, but clearly as I start to go back through my life, this wasn't something that I continued to watch and be a part of. I like the idea that I think that I like this more so than actually liking it. And I think that's where that, nostalgia bias comes in a little bit to getting me to come back to the table. So overall, I'm on a 31 and a 62% on this movie for Gremlins, which kind of surprised me too, because I thought this was a slam dunk. And there's things in this movie that I didn't think that I would like, and I did. So, and then I know Steven likes to say this. That's why we have a rating system. Because we talked all this, and I slept all the way through on this to go and slam it. But yeah, like, Gremlins doesn't exactly hold up for me. So take it away.
that's where it held from with Lost Boys. I thought it should have been a thing that I enjoyed more than I actually did, and coming into it, the rating system, I'm like, oh, I don't really. I mean, the movie's fine, and I enjoy it, and I would rewatch it, and it does hold some place, but it is not it's not the place that I thought it did.
No.
So that's always was interesting to find that out. Like you said, coming to this, you were like, oh yeah, Gremlins, it's awesome, and then you're like, nope, doesn't hold anything here.
That's why I renamed it Gremlins, because I mean it's grim. I like from the story, from the dark tone, and then coming to the realization that like I am a casual fan at best in the Gremlin space.
Okay, yeah, all right, that's why we do this.
The
That's
sleeper dark agent of chaos is coming in. Wow.
Okay.
Damn.
It happens.
All right.
Steven?
Steven, let's hear what you have to
Shoot. Yeah.
Bonkers.
say in this.
Nostalgia bias. I gave it a 7, given like it's like on the outside. It's a very influential film on like Spielbergerism, like horror comedy, like slapstick, puppetry. Like it's all the boxes for me when we're talking about like this should be a slam dunk. This is a slam dunk for me. This is every box you could possibly want to check for something that I should be interested and have had in my ecosphere, just haven't really sat down and watched it. Love that we can do this podcast and talk about it. 7 on that. Production value, gave it an 8. I think tons of great work. Some of it's aged a little bit. It feels a little Hollywood for me. Like, this isn't avant-garde. This isn't really pushing, like, shooting, and like it's kind of like, we're going to do this traditionally. We're going to traditionally shoot this, but also do a lot of really fantastic puppet work and practical effects that we're perfecting at this. Like, this is kind of like the sunsetting of practical effects. We're like working on like we're about at the peak of when we're doing practical effects of this era and testing the limits of it. So like those 1 or 2 points are only docked because they had a low budget. That'll be my thing. Like you gave them an extra $5,000. You know, that's a lot of money to push this. So that I try to score it very indiscriminately. Spirit and Emotion, a 9. I think they nailed what they were trying to do. This is a really enjoyable horror comedy of like this is a lot of the tone setting and like the standard setting for horror comedy for me. This is like, we're gonna be a little bit funny. It really felt, and I recently watched the first Scream. It feels in that same category. It feels really akin to that, with like era that it was shot, like resources that they had, talent that they had in there. It felt good. It was a really great, we're coming into Halloween, going into, like, I went to the store, there's Halloween and Christmas on the shelves at the same time. This movie felt good. This was the perfect time to watch it. It is doing its job today. So I'll give it that 9. Rewatchability, I have to rate it a 9. I want to watch it again. I am not a rewatcher. I really enjoyed this film. I feel like I missed a little bit. Like, it was late at night. I was putting it on. I really enjoyed it, and I want to watch it again. I would rewatch it before going into the second one so I can enjoy the more things that happen with this series, because I know there's three films in a series, two films in a series.
2 films, and then they went into the cartoons.
Yeah, I want to watch the cartoon.
Much later
the
on.
cartoon was flashing up like right after the film. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch that.
I think I actually think rewatching the movie will help ground you a little bit better into the second movie. Yeah, like if you can pay attention to things, like it just picks right up.
And I've
not
heard
to derail your. They had $50 million to make the second one. So
in that money
again, that's where you get Rick Baker into this
5 times the budget.
Bro,
Yeah,
they made their
that's where you
budget
get-
back in the weekend that it opened.
in the weekend.
That doesn't mean you get it. That doesn't mean you get to do it. Like, you can make your money and they're like,
when you have Steven Spielberg written on your hat, yeah, you get to do whatever.
no, he's not doing
at that
anything
point.
now.
Those
so.
Gremlins were
At
everywhere
that time.
by like Christmas of '85. Like
So
that
this
whole
was
Barbie.
like it was tied. This is like the toy franchise era. This is like your
It is.
He-Mans and your Street Sharks and your
There
like,
were gizmos.
Star Wars. Like
yeah.
lots of toys.
So they were able to, like you said, $5 more million. They had a lot more millions of dollars to bring in
5 times.
bigger talent, but
5 times.
So
I gave them 5 million. Like you make the perfect film, and they're like, well, how about 5 times that?
yeah,
God damn, I'm really looking forward to Gremlins 2. We'll see what they do with that.
Me too.
Overall, an 8. So like,
Okay.
it product of its time. I feel it's a lot of people getting their like sea legs with piloting and doing what they're doing with this film. Kind of a little bit of world building, but having a good time. So like, it's not a perfect outing. It can't be a perfect outing. It's the first film in this franchise. Which brings me at a 42%, the same as Katherine, which is
yeah, 82%. Yeah, nice.
Go millennials.
we're all made the same.
Goddamn teacher's pet.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, thank God
all
there's
right.
a system here, so there's no like.
So I was doing laundry before this movie, getting ready to watch it, and just thinking about the movie and going through our criteria, and my brain kept going to 10 across the board, and I'm like, you can't come out with 100%. Like that is not possible. I'm like, I want to give it 100%, but I cannot do that. I like this is, and I was like, stop thinking that. Stop I need to watch it and then rate it. So I sat down and watched it. Took me like I said, took me like 3 hours because I was just like jotting down scene after scene and little bits of
Sad lad.
things that. What was that?
Sad lad.
Oh, well, just in the beginning.
No,
Again, it wasn't sad. It wasn't sad. It wasn't sad times. It was happy times. It was
Okay.
better times as a child, and not that times are bad now, but you know, as an adult, I got a lot more responsibilities and those kinds of things. Where you know, we all sat down as a family to watch a movie together with everyone. You know, everyone got a bowl of popcorn and. Everyone had blankets, and it was just a beautiful time, and Christmas and like all of that, just all the memories from this movie. So nostalgia 10. I wrote just 10 all day. I can't there's no way I can give it any less. For production value, I give it a 9. Again, this is me taking like a point off for minuscule things like the first shot of Gizmo, and you could see the separation in his head from his little animatronic body. Just small, like I'm literally just shaving fractions off here for production value. So the snow car thing, like I didn't see that. So yes, those are things that like I kind of just overlooked. I was immediately transported back into the world by the production value. So those little things just kind of, I let them go over my head and didn't really see them, which then leads into a 9 for Spirit, because I am immediately transported back in time to my house as a small child watching this movie with my parents, and just getting the crap scared out of myself as a little kid. Holt Axton's voiceover at the end of the movie still sticks with me. I heard it and I got a little shudder down my spine. Like, I remember that night. I remember the night I watched this movie. I don't know. Again, I can't pinpoint the exact date and time, but I remember hearing him say that, the credits roll, bam, 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 and me walking off to my bedroom going, holy shit, there's going to be a gremlin under my bed.
It
So,
gives you that
Spirit,
weird sense of uneasiness. Yeah.
yeah, like, and so this movie has always stuck with me. Rewatchability 9 all day. I could give it a 10 just for the hell of giving it a 10 because I will watch this movie. My girlfriend was like, "Oh, she's like, I probably should rewatch that. It's been a while." And I'm like, "Well, I'm giving it a 9 or 10, so we can rewatch it tomorrow if you want."
Yeah.
And my overall thoughts is a 9 on this one, where it hits those marks of both horror and comedy, where we're bringing us in and building tension with the horror elements and those traditional horror tropes, walking up the stairs not knowing what's happening and building that tense and anticipation, and then going completely in the other direction with just complete bonkers silliness, and then back into Santa running out of his house with gremlins attached to his back screaming, and the cops are
and
like,
the police
"Get
officer
outta
just
here.
rolling up
Go.
the window."
Go now. Also, one thing I wanted, the cops just getting hammered on Christmas Eve. They're just sitting there they're pouring booze.
That's why Mike Ehrman Trout moved to New Mexico to go work with Gus.
Yes, that was Mike
because
from Breaking Bad.
He couldn't
Yes.
hack it back then. That was his cop backstory. He got too drunk and too many gremlins, and he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He didn't have much hair at that point in time either. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, that was
That's
kind
hilarious.
of receding there. But they cut to his face, and I'm like, why do I know that guy? And I'm like, wait a minute.
Beverly
And I was
Hills
like,
Cop.
So I got a 9 overall for that one, which makes my score a 92% for this movie, which is where it should be.
Oh
where
my
like again,
God.
I could almost make this 100%, but again, that's not realistic. I'll also take some stuff off, but 92% sits right where I know it should be. Where Lost Boys was where I thought 92% where I thought Lost Boys was. No, this one is hitting that mark where I know it should be for me. This definitely falls into we'll call it top 20. This definitely hits in the top 20 for me.
I mean, I think you're cutting yourself short if you say top 20 with the way that you just fucking
Yeah, I was about to say 92 is
slobbed on that one. You're like,
There's a
I would give it 1,000%.
10's across the board, baby.
okay. So here I will
Top 10.
when I was dating, people would always ask me, say I'm a movie buff. They'd say, "Oh, what is your favorite movie?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't ask a movie buff what his favorite movie is or her favorite movie is, because generally there's a list of the favorite movies. Like, I don't tend to find movie buffs have one movie that is their top movie out of all of them. That's like having a bunch of children and saying that child is my favorite. The other rest of them they're just there. Steven, you had something to say?
Best movie is Brave Little Toaster.
I
not
thought
a
he was going
movie
to say
buff.
Phantom Menace.
Hush.
Not yet.
But I kind of found I was asked this question a lot, and I kind of noticed that people who didn't or who occasionally watch movies, who movies weren't their thing all the time, they had a specific movie that was their favorite. And people who loved movies had a top 10 list or a top 20 list and said, this is my stack of favorites. Like, this is what makes me me. Like, here's my stack of favorite movies. If you
Yes.
watch these, you'll get the gist of kind of what makes me, what makes up me. So this would fall into that. And I'm pretty sure I did up a list at one point, and it is so hard for me to do. I don't know about you guys. You might be able to say, oh, this is
No,
my
it's
favorite
hard.
movie. Yeah. Like, I know you're a movie buff where
Yeah.
that's hard to say. Here's the one. But yeah, I sat there, went through all of my movie collection, wrote them all down, or stood at the wall, at my movie wall with a notepad, just being like, all right, add this one. And then I tried to list them out, and man, that was a
hard.
daunting task. So I got about a 20 or 30, and Gremlins definitely, I would put it in the top 20 for sure.
All right, I'll give you the pass on 20. Being Blockbuster Video over there.
Ooh.
Nick had a solid argument on that.
I know.
That's what I
He
should
was
do.
well prepared. He had 3 hours to prepare for this. The laundry's not doing good, but man, is Notes spot on for Gremlins.
All right. Well, let's wrap this ship up since I know people need to go. So, Steven, you want to round us out with some of your fantastic plugs?
Oh my god, there's so many plugs to be had. There's a whole bunch of people doing a lot of great things here on the channel. You have Katherine over at Spectacle Views doing her best millennial lifestyle vlogs and videos about everything Disney. You can go check that out at Spectacle Views. You have Cam over at Never Touching Grass. Black Ops 6. It's out now at the time of this recording, and he's doing all the great things, Easter egg hunting. He is giving you all the tips and tricks on Black Ops Zombies. Check that out at Never Touching Grass. You have Nick over at Fire Hazard 508 Creations, making playthings into display things. He's doing great reviews on products and all things that you want to collect. Was it worth it? You'll have to find out over at Fire Hazard 508 Creations. Check that out. And you got me over at Funky Games, where we're playing through all quintessential video games. Are you a video game poser? I am, and I'm trying not to be. So you check it out at Funky Games, where we're playing all the great games like Dark Soul, Demon Souls, that game.
Demon Souls.
Demon Souls.
Demon Souls, that other game. I was doing really good.
I
was on a
couple of
great, like, no breath, like, straight through and then fumbled it at the end.
Oh,
Classic.
you did great. You covered so many yards.
You poser.
Yeah, it's a poser. So make sure you check out all our channels because we all appreciate it.
Yes.
Very
Yeah, I
much
got a
so.
couple of those Demon Souls that I got to edit that we've played. So also make sure you like and subscribe here and leave some comments if for movies that we need to watch that you would like to hear our opinions on or subject Steven to, since he hasn't watched a lot of these. May have
See what
no
movie we can
nostalgia.
find Cam to like.
Yeah.
Or-
Man, biggest hater on the channel. I've dodged
Oh my
that
God, I know.
moniker.
So that's
You
our
lost
biggest
it.
quest is to make Steven watch movies and Cam like a movie.
Yeah. If we can cross that bridge there, that'd be great. I'm a tough audience member these days.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.